Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Excuse me, sir. I'd like to buy one copy of The Legend of Zelda, trademark. Breath of the Wild, no trademark. Nintendo Switch, trademark. 2 edition, no trademark. Come back anytime. So the Nintendo Cartridge Society comes back anytime with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. You know, Patrick, it has been a while since I talked about this, and so I just wanted to provide an update to you and to all of our listeners.
Is it about your Lost rewatch?
It's not on my Lost. No, the Lost rewatch ended because I just got bored of it.
Yeah.
And no, this is about my soap dispenser in my bathroom.
Oh, wow. We're checking back in with the soap dispenser.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, longtime listeners will know that I bought like an automatic hands-free soap dispenser from Amazon. That was Amazon Essentials, and this was probably in like 2021. And it was like connected to Siri for some reason, but it would had a little like 20-second countdown on the top that like the lights would disappear in a clockwise order.
Right.
So you knew that you were washing your hands for 20 seconds.
And that was great during that time when it was like, yes, we all need to be washing our hands for 20 seconds. I don't know about you. I've really fallen out of that specific stringent
Well,
time
if there's another
limit.
pandemic, we'll know who to blame.
It's me. Just blame me.
And
I feel like 12 seconds is plenty, right?
I think it also depends on how dirty your hands are, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they like the goal was like get your hands germ free.
Right, but I don't think anything magical happens in 20 seconds. I think that they just, probably sat in a conference room and debated over what is the appropriate, like, how long can we tell them to do it for before it's outrageous?
Right, sure.
Like, because I bet at 12 seconds, if you are, because it also has to depend on, do you know what? Update on my thing over. It also has to depend on how vigorously you're, like, rubbing your hands together. There are so many factors.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you are a vigorous soap manipulator and you do it in
good,
then you can probably be fine in 10 seconds, whereas somebody who is less vigorous, maybe 20 seconds isn't long enough. Like, it's just
and we should say that Mark is not a doctor.
Yeah, this isn't medical advice. It's also not legal advice.
Right.
But it's just my opinion that I think it's possible that you might be fine after 12 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But your soap dispenser was
no, we're not talking about that
anymore.
Okay,
we're done with that now. Mark, I got you a little something.
What? It's not even my birthday.
It's not even your birthday.
Think.
No, it's not. But I got you just a little something.
Oh my gosh! It's Shovel Knight socks, and now Patrick is wearing a Shovel Knight sweater.
Yes, that's right. I got these from Insert Coin. A pair of Shovel Knight socks for you and for Connor and for myself, for the three of us being Shovel Knight buds at the Steal Thy concert event the other week, and they just took longer to get here than I thought they were going to.
Thank you so much. These are so fun, and now I feel like a real dummy starting this off by talking about hand washing and soap dispensers.
No, why would you feel dumb? It's Mark. You are frequently burdened with come up with a random topic at the beginning of the episode, and you do it without complaining, without consulting me, and so you did a great job in bringing up your soap dispenser.
Well, this is so fun. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope you like them. Mark, if people want to support us, they can head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if they are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, they get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade.
Yes, where Patrick and I are playing games that we've never beaten before, some classic games. And for the month of April, we're going to be talking about Okami.
Yeah.
Originally released on the PlayStation 2, a Zelda-like that I had heard so much about and am so glad that I've had this opportunity to play because there is so much to talk about here.
Yes. And while that is our April game, it will be coming out early May.
Yeah.
The episode will be coming out early May. If you have any questions or observations or thoughts about Okami itself, you should email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com,
because we will use your thoughts in our listener feedback episode, which is available to everyone who follows us on Patreon, whether you are supporting us with money there or just following us at the free level. Everyone gets access to it. So if you are like, oh, I want to send them an email about Okami, but I don't pay for anything on the Patreon, hey, shouldn't stop you.
No, please still do it. And then we will talk about it and you can listen to that episode for free.
Speaking of the Patreon, we want to say thank you to our new patron, Anthony Lowbridge Ellis. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon. You rule. And then also, Discord. You should be in there. If you are not in our Discord yet, email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And we will send you an invitation.
One last thing you can do with that email.
One last thing
is you can send us your questions for our 866th episode.
Wait, go back and do it as Columbo.
Wait, one more thing.
There we go.
That sounds like Columbo, right? Don't answer that. Let me live in my fantasy world. You can send us your questions for our 866th episode. So, in our news episodes every Tuesday, we have a little mid-episode break for 33 where we talk about something not at all Nintendo related. For our 433rd episode back in 2021, we did an entire episode where we answered your questions that you sent us that were about anything and everything as long as they weren't Nintendo related.
Yes.
And we're doing it again for our 866th, and that'll be in like the middle of June. So you have a few weeks to get your questions in, but don't delay.
Right. Send in your questions just so long as they're not about Nintendo. We will happily answer them. All right, Mark, are you ready to get into our topic where we are, in fact, talking about Nintendo? Nintendo Switch 2 editions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So first, let's just, review which Nintendo Switch 2 editions we know are coming out, which we know exist.
Right, because, the Nintendo Switch 2 is backwards compatible. And so the majority of Nintendo Switch games will work on the Switch 2, and some of them will even, potentially run better. But then there are
games that like specifically get a call out as like running a little bit better are like Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, right? Like just games where like it's kind of obvious what the flaws are in the original Switch releases. So we know they're going to get like slight performance boosts, but we don't actually know the extent of what.
Yeah, and that will just happen. Like you don't have to do anything
automatically. Yeah.
Automatically when you play those Switch games on the Switch 2.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are included in that, which I find exciting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
And then there are these Nintendo Switch 2 editions, which are re-releases of Nintendo Switch games for the Nintendo Switch 2 with something a little bit like extra included.
Right. Well, and this is also forthcoming games, right? Like we don't have them listed here because we don't actually know what the games are going to be like, but Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA are both have Nintendo Switch 2 editions as well.
Oh yeah, good point.
So like in Metroid Prime 4, we know, I mean, obviously it has like the mouse controls and also the 120 frames per second mode. And the little bit of footage that we've seen of Pokemon ZA, Legends ZA, just like looks and runs a lot smoother on the Switch 2 edition.
Yep. Yes.
But the other thing is, as Mark mentioned, are these like sort of re-releases, repackaging, usually for $10 or $20 more than they were in the first place, are these 4 older Switch games, the first 2 of which being The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And so they kind of represent a single category of Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is like kind of just a like robust performance enhancement, right?
Right. Seemingly more than whatever Scarlet and Violet will get. You know,
Yes.
just by it's not clear to me though, like, and I don't know if anybody knows if Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the Nintendo Switch 2 editions, did Nintendo do work to make them
I think they
run
must
better?
have,
You know,
yeah.
like in addition to whatever just naturally happens seemingly.
Right, whatever
when you
processing power.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but yeah, I mean, it's a great point. I guess no one really does know.
And but also they are getting this new Zelda Notes section
Right.
in the Nintendo Switch app,
Right.
which has like a ton of new features in it, including all these audio diaries that are fully voice acted for locations in the game that provide more kind of like lore and story.
Also, like a voice assisted like navigation thing, and we again don't really know exactly how that works. But like you'll be running around the world, and it'll be like your destination is like on your left, or is like above you, or whatever. Which is neat and interesting. Still kind of perplexing to me that it's not just part of the game.
Yeah, it is interesting. I wonder if it's purposefully to drive people to the Nintendo Switch app.
I mean, I guess, but like, why? Like, they don't get anything out of people using the Nintendo Switch
I
app.
mean, it's just another touch point that they can like communicate with you,
Yeah.
and like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question, but so that's the Legend of Zelda games,
right? And so that's kind of like the one category where it's like performance improvements, and like the app functionality is like another weird twist to it that we don't totally understand yet. The next one is Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Star-Crossed World. And so this is like another category where like obviously the base game is getting performance improvements. I don't know if you Mark, you remember, but like when even enemies are like in the medium background in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, they drop to like 5 or 6 frames per second. Like that's a slideshow, and like it's like fun and kind of quirky, but like, oh man, you can tell they're working hard to save on RAM on that thing, and so that's obviously all been like done away with in the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But then there's this whole Star-Crossed World thing, which is like a brand new game mode, a pretty like common normal-ish thing for a Kirby re-release, but it's like a new campaign.
I also think it's something that we've seen from Nintendo, over the past few years when they want to re-release a game, but for whatever reason feel like they need or want to include additional content. We saw with the Mario and Luigi re-releases, on like remakes on the 3DS. And then, with Super Mario 3D World, it had Bowser's Fury,
and like a new Super Mario Brothers U, which came with Luigi U, which I know they did on Wii U first, but like that's another example of them like bundling these extra experiences together, and it seems like that's exactly what Star-Crossed World is going to be for Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
And then finally, we have Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Jamboree TV.
Right. And this feels very similar to the Kirby thing, but the difference, and I think like the key difference here that like puts it into a different category of thing, is that Jamboree TV is full of stuff taking specific advantage of the new hardware capabilities of the Nintendo Switch 2. So there are mini games that focus on using the camera, and mini games that focus on using the Joy-Con 2 in mouse mode. So like it's not only is it new content, but it's new content that is like specifically geared towards the new capabilities of the Switch 2.
Yep.
So in that way, being like a subtle distinction from Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is like, yeah, I mean, you could probably put those levels on Nintendo Switch 1, but you're not, right? So we thought, using these things as our guide, that we would, pitch out a couple of our ideas for Nintendo Switch 2 editions of Nintendo Switch games that already exist. Do we think these things are going to happen? Do we hope they're going to happen? Who knows, right?
Who knows?
The prompt was we're going to come up with 3 to 5 of these each, and just talk about what possibilities there are for future Nintendo Switch 2 editions.
And you don't have to reveal this for yourself, but I'm going to be honest that I totally forgot about the Nintendo Switch app, so none of mine include any Nintendo Switch functionality, functionality.
I think No, I'm one of mine does.
All right, covering our bases.
We got it all. Mark, I want to go first because I am actually going to be making a prediction.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And I'm connecting some dots here.
Okay, great.
So prediction: Nintendo Switch Sports, Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Ooh.
And the big thing that this is my prediction, and the like part that for me is like the clincher here is Drag and Drive. The wheelchair basketball game that has been at all of like the in-person events, but it has no release date, and seems like a sort of generic looking game. Doesn't appear to have any like features that anyone's talked about. Even like impressions from on site are like, I don't know. It seems like it's just this 3-on-3 wheelchair basketball game. All of that coupled with the fact that emails have gone out to some Nintendo users being like, here are the games to look forward to in later this year, and Drag and Drive is not on there. Makes me think that Drag and Drive we're gonna see come back with the Nintendo Switch Sports guys and just be the new game added to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
That is bold.
Of Nintendo Switch Sports.
So you're saying that when Nintendo revealed the Switch at the beginning of April, the Switch 2,
yeah,
and they had Drag and Drive as like a game that was coming in the summer,
yes,
and then they have seen like reaction to it or whatever, and that they're going to reverse course.
No, so I don't think that they are going to reverse course. I think that they're just going to reveal that this is a game coming to Nintendo Switch Sports.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand. Okay, so it'll just be like, hey, Drag and Drive is now a new sport available in Nintendo Switch Sports if you have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Yes.
Ooh, very cool.
Exactly. And I think, like beyond that, they will obviously like retool the online to really lean into the game chat functionality, which like it's a good online, like the game is designed for you to just like go and like play randos online. But now that they have game chat and the camera stuff, like I think they're really going to lean into playing the game with your friends. Nintendo Switch Sports sold really well, almost 16 million copies, but it like didn't really have the sort of like cultural impact of like Wii Sports. Kind of how could it, right? But I think they can really easily tie what it's doing into what the Switch 2 is doing, and really leaning into the game chat functionality, and now with the mouse mode for Drag and Drive. Like it seems less like a thing that I want and more like a thing that makes sense and is like in line with the way they're pushing this thing.
Yeah, I wonder if you could incorporate the Nintendo Switch 2 camera somehow, so it's like, oh, you're playing like bowling with each other, and you're actually like seeing the person standing up from their couch and like swinging the Joy-Con around.
Right. I mean that would be fun if nothing else.
That is great. And
none of the rest of mine are predictions. That's the only one where I'm like, oh, this must be the case. Because I'm also kind of like, Mark, if they release Drag and Drive as like its own thing, when do you think we find out more about it? When do you think there's like a story reveal? What do you think they're going to charge for this thing? Is there like a single player camp? Like, what is Drag and Drive?
I don't know. I always think of the game whose name I can't remember, where you're like little robots that are running around butt stomping the ground to flip tiles.
Wars, yes.
Yeah, Flip Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, right? Like that was a Nintendo eShop exclusive that didn't get like a big blowout or anything. It just was a thing that they wanted to release. So I don't know that we'll necessarily get, I don't know if there is more from Drag and Drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see for sure. Well, since we're on the theme of sports games or fitness games from the Nintendo Switch, getting a Switch 2 edition, my first one is going to be Ring Fit Adventure Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Plus,
there we go,
Drago the Final Cut.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, the original Joy-Con will work with the Switch 2 if you have a Switch 1 Joy-Con to put into it. But here's an opportunity for them to re-release Ring Fit Adventure with a Ring Con that fits a Joy-Con 2. And then in my mind, the other thing that they could incorporate here is into this kind of like separate campaign bonus content included in
Final Cut.
Yes, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Drago, of course, is the buff like dragon kind of villain of Ring Fit Adventure. And you could use a combination of the Ring Con and the Switch 2 camera to introduce new exercises
you
can't do with the Ring Con alone, because you could, I don't know, basically just use motion tracking, seemingly.
Right.
Like in a lot of ways, it just seems like they can use the Switch 2 camera as a Kinect.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, I don't know, whatever they want to do, jumping jacks, push-ups, cartwheels.
I mean, it kind of seems like they could actually, because all of the yoga poses in Ring Fit Adventure now, like it is taking cues from like where you're holding the ring, right? And because it's all based on like the ring and like sensing the motion of it, means that it's like, kind of repetitive motion yoga things, which is not really what I associate with yoga, right? I associate a lot of like holding positions. And with the camera, it could sense you doing those doing those positions.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's do you want to hear my pitch for what the framing device for Drago the Final Cut would be?
Sure.
Okay, so it's basically probably like a Simon game where it's just a test of endurance. Like Drago does a bunch of exercises in a row, and then you have to try to remember the order and like do them
fun.
as well.
Yeah.
But the framing device is that Drago just finished bulking,
right,
and is now
he has to cut.
Now he has to cut.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's good, and it would be nice to spend time with Drago again, and also like I think really good to have a Ring Con that will work with Joy-Con 2, because like if you're not actively charging Joy-Cons, they're gonna die on you, right? And so even though you can use that, on your Switch 2 and the old Ring Con for that matter, it's like you need to make sure you have a plan to keep your Joy-Con alive. Let me ask you this. We were talking about it a little bit in the Discord today. Are you at all worried about how well the original Joy-Con are going to play with Switch 2? Like, have you ever connected a Joy-Con through a method other than just sliding it onto the rails?
I hadn't even thought about that until I saw it got brought up in the Discord today. Because, yeah, with the Switch 2, you won't just be able to easily slide. There are no rails.
There are no rails.
Yeah,
right,
for you to slide Joy-Con onto to sync it with the system. I can't remember if I've ever tried to do it the old-fashioned way.
I mean, every time I've tried to connect a controller, Joy-Con or otherwise, with the Switch 2, it like doesn't.
Or with
the
Switch.
Oh, sorry, yes, with the Switch. It just doesn't like take on the first go, right? And usually I have to either connect it by putting Joy-Cons on the rails or by plugging it in via the USB-C cord. And like that does it pretty immediately, and like that's great and all. But if you don't have the rails for the Joy-Con, and if you don't have the Joy-Con charger, two-way or whatever it's called, then I don't know there's going to be an easy way to connect your original Joy-Cons to your Switch.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, hopefully that works smoothly.
And obviously that's like not anything that people who've had hands-on with the Switch have gotten a chance to like test or play around with. So that'll be a weird use case not even a weird use case, because people have a ton.
Yeah, I think it'll be very common.
So yeah, we'll see how annoying that is when it all finally comes out.
I just want to add one more thing about Ring Fit Adventure Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Drago the Final Cut is that I think that
is that Drago : the Final Cut.
It is, yeah.
Okay, great.
Nintendo so far hasn't shown any urgency to create like a Ring Fit Adventure sequel or anything.
Right.
But this would be an opportunity to get $20 more potentially out of somebody who already owns Ring Fit Adventure, and then they could charge $90 or whatever they're going to charge.
Oh, that's true,
because
it's in a
like new edition.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. I wonder also like if they could just add a couple more like levels to the campaign or whatever. Like it's all just like remix the same couple assets anyway. Like why not just add like another 3 chapters or something?
Yeah.
That's a great pitch. I do wonder if they're ever going to Ring Fit Adventure sold great, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would be foolish not to revisit it in some way.
I don't know. Maybe the lesson that they are taking from it is we should do a new sort of fitness thing.
Yeah, that's a great point
for this new system.
Right. No, that's
bring back the rope jump challenge bunny.
Yeah, jump rope challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, love jump rope challenge. All right, my turn.
Yep, your turn.
I don't have the plus whatever for this. Let's see if we can come up with.
Okay, great.
Princess Peach Showtime.
Oh yeah. What are we gonna do to salvage this one?
So, much in the the same mold as Kirby, it'll have an additional game mode where it is a little bit more Metroidvania-y, where you are just in like a single continuous space and you get to choose what your transformations are. And are you going to tackle this as the sword fighter or as the karate transformation? Like, how are you going to approach these different things? And you have to just make those decisions and go into different areas and clear stuff out that way. So,
and also that is such a fun idea to be able to use those transformations in a different context.
Yes. Which is actually an idea that I got from playing the Christmas level of Astrobot, which, like in the original Astrobot that came out on PlayStation 5 last year, some of the levels have like special moves that the Astrobot can get for that level, right? So like in one, he'll have like his fists get big and he can like throw long arm style punches. One where he has like he can inflate and kind of like jump really high. But there were no levels in the original cut of the game that included multiple power ups, right? It was just like this level is about this power up. The Christmas level, which was DLC, had like a bunch of the power-ups just scattered throughout the level, and you could collect one and explore different areas of the map with it, and it was super fun. It was like, why wasn't the whole game this? And like, hey, why isn't Princess Peach Showtime this?
Yeah, I feel like this could be called Princess Peach Showtime Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, plus we fixed it.
Well, I mean, that's an excellent point. Let's fix the performance on this game too, because it ran really poorly.
It did.
Like really, really poorly. I think maybe the worst performing first party game I played on Switch. What if it's like Princess Peach Showtime plus Encore or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, great.
Or like Peach's Encore or something like that. Yeah. Give me freedom. Give me the A, freedom to explore, B, freedom to pick what power-ups I'm going to use when, and make the whole thing just run and look better, please.
Very good. This is my next one is a little bit of a, I would say, in some ways, strange one to have a Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Yes.
Because it was in some ways a filler title for in 2024 for the Nintendo Switch's library, and yet one we enjoyed a lot. But I think it was missing a key ingredient, and I aim to fix that with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Gooigi in Time.
Yes.
Okay, so Gooigi, the Jello-like form of Luigi that was
tastes like coffee and is a time traveler.
Tastes like coffee was invented during the events of Luigi's Mansion 2 by Professor Egad. And he was like
Luigi's Mansion 3.
No, during the events of Luigi's Mansion 2.
Gotcha.
He is while like Luigi's doing his thing, canonically while that was happening, Professor Egad was experimenting on like some liquid he gathered from ghosts, and that like liquid took form, and then he did some more experiments, and it started looking like Luigi. So he sent it back in time to the events of the original Luigi's Mansion to help Luigi, which is what happens in the Nintendo 3DS remake of the original Luigi's Mansion game. And of course, Luigi returned triumphantly in Luigi's Mansion 3, which means there is a Luigi-sized hole in the game of Luigi's Mansion 2.
Right.
And so...
And, we're talking like alternate timeline stuff, right? Because that's why he's in Luigi's Mansion 2. Or Luigi's Mansion 1, rather.
Yes.
The 3DS version. So, yeah, the remake of Luigi's Mansion 2 should have included Luigi.
But it didn't. And so the Nintendo Switch 2 edition will have this new game called Luigi in Time.
Yes.
Where Luigi is not just being sent back to other Luigi's Mansion games, but is being sent into other like Super Mario Brothers games. Or any place that Luigi has shown up in the past.
Sure.
Might be a level in Luigi in Time.
Might be some kind of haunted level. Yeah. I like that. A haunted like Yoshi's Island, a haunted Mario Kart track or whatever.
Yep.
And poor Luigi tumbling through time has to bust the ghosts that are like interrupting him as he tries to get back to the present.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Would we also then include Luigi as a playable character in the Luigi's Mansion 2
That would
HD?
be fun.
Yeah.
Because you can play Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. You can play... No, you can't. You can't. So yeah, you need to have some sort of multiplayer mode.
Yes. Well, besides just the scraper.
Right.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, why not? Put that in there. Like, let two people run around as Luigi and Luigi. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do that? Mark, great pick. I'm also going to go with one that's maybe not a strange choice, but like I'm cheating a little bit here, I guess is what I'm saying. This is Famicom Detective Club : the 3-case collection. So you will recall that Famicom Detective Club, the 2-case collection, was the bundle that included the Forgotten Heir and the Girl Who Stands Behind. But then after that, we got Emio the Smiling Man. Let's bundle all of those together into one game that now includes mouse controls. So if you're clicking around to choose dialogue options, clicking around to like where are you examining instead of using a little cursor on the screen with a thumbstick, why not be able to do that with a mouse and cursor that way? Also, as long as we're like doing stuff here, you can toggle on the original 8-bit graphics and music from the first two games. And then, Mark, here's my Nintendo Switch app integration. Detective Notes in the Nintendo Switch app.
Oh, yes.
So you can use it at any time to check your notebook, which is a feature in the game. But sometimes you have to like navigate out of a conversation, or you're like locked in a decision tree and you can't like check your notes while making these decisions. So like let's just have it so you can access that on your phone. And also 2 different levels of hint systems. One being like, hey, you haven't talked to this guy in a while. And the other one being like, the next move is do this. Because these games, especially the first 2, can get you in places where you're like, how was I supposed to intuit
having
that?
something like that for the first 2 games would be so clutch. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Patrick, I am delighted to tell you
yes
that I also have Famicom Detective Club as one of mine. And so
I mean, I'm not surprised.
No. This is not shocking necessarily.
Right. Everyone listening at home is like, yes, obviously.
Yeah. What I think we could really come up with one super like ultimate Famicom Detective Club package, because mouse controls, of course, brilliant. I didn't think of that, but that makes total sense. Having like the Nintendo Switch app integration, love it. What my proposal is Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus BS Detective Club, the past that disappeared in the snow, lost memories in the snow, whatever translation
however
you want to go with.
Translate it. Yes.
The
tell us a little bit about the BS.
Yes,
Famicom
standing for Broadcast Satellite, because it was a limited release on the Satellaview in Japan only, and the Satellaview was a accessory, an add-on for the Super Famicom, and like once a week. Nintendo partnered with a satellite radio company in Japan, and once a week they would broadcast to the Satellaview system, like installments of a game. So there was like BS Legend of Zelda, but there was also this side story for Famicom Detective Club that followed the female heroine of the series, Ayumi Tachibana, and so it's like the one that she was able to star in, and it was broadcast in 3 chapters, so shorter than the other games, but it follows her visiting her hometown where like the mayor is murdered and her mom is accused of it, and all these family secrets come out. And what a joy it would be to play, and we'd have this complete Famicom Detective Club
wonderful.
Collection. And yeah, so that is my pitch.
So
I'd pay $200 for it.
Yeah, I would pay $499.99. No, that's incredible. Of course, I forget the what Lost in the Snow. Or...
So it really depends on like
Right.
There's no set English translation, but it's either, or I've seen it 2 ways. On Wikipedia, they call it the past that disappeared in the snow, and then on a Satellaview wiki, it was called the lost memories in the snow.
Both great titles.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like so good and evocative, and like both just like that little bit of clumsy that like
it's so good.
The Famicom Detective Club titles have to have. Yeah, I would love for this, and love for them all to be bundled together. Famicom Detective Club, the 4-case collection.
Great,
I love it. All right, so I guess then back to me. Still?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey man, if we're doing this for The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, we can also do this for Super Mario Odyssey. Let's just talk about 3D Mario for a second. We're not getting a new 3D Mario game this year. That's not happening, right? I know that we were kind of like, oh yeah, Donkey Kong is either taking the place of that, or I don't know. They haven't revealed everything that they're going to put out this year. That's true, but the window of time between the release of the Switch 2 and the end of the year is so narrow. It is 7 months, right? And we kind of know what each month is going to bring, right? Like June is the system itself and Super Mario or Mario Kart World. July is a Donkey Kong Bonanza. August, I think they're counting Kirby as like their release for then, and that leaves September, October, November, and they don't really put out games in December, right? With the sole exception of Smash Ultimate. And so those 3 other games are Kirby's Air Ride, Pokemon Legends, and Metroid. So like all those games are going to come out, and it seems like, oh yeah, we've filled the calendar. That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
And also Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is going to be in there somewhere. Maybe it'll be, it's currently listed for winter. So that could be like January, February next year. That makes perfect sense to me. Could also come out in December, right? But it means we don't have room for a 3D Mario game this year, which means we're not getting a new 3D Mario until October of next year at the earliest. What you could do to stop that up is do a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Odyssey. And look, it was rumored for such a long time. You can see it on the globe. Let's go to Delfino Island.
That'd be great.
And
I love Sunshine.
Either that's one big kingdom, or it's like 2 normal like big kingdoms and 2 little kingdoms that can like make up Delfino. And you get those Piantas in there. No flood or anything like that, but just more Mario Galaxy. Also, or not Galaxy, Odyssey. And then let's get the Nintendo folks to design some of their own Luigi's Balloon World challenges. That aren't impossible to do, because like at this point I feel like people have gotten really good at making those things like so hard. Just some like nice fun challenges that you could do and get coins by collecting Luigi's balloons. I think it's time to get more Super Mario Odyssey.
That would be awesome. I love that game. It would be maybe a good one for the Nintendo Switch app as well, like something like Zelda Notes but Mario Notes.
Yeah,
like that help you narrow down specific moons that you might be missing, or like any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean the moons are already like they already populate the map, right? So you can always kind of see where they are. But yeah, like maybe even like tips or videos on like how to get them would be useful.
Yeah. I love that. Well, my next one is a Zelda game. It
Ooh.
is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And the thing we're adding here is
A different menu.
is is plus 4 echoes. That's right. We have 4 swords.
Oh, baby.
And also 4 Swords Adventure. But what happens when you get 4 Zeldas in a room,
right,
in a dungeon, trying to solve puzzles,
right,
using echoes,
all duplicating Lionels or whatever.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that a lot, and it's like carries in the tradition of like they've done this before. Like that's the Four Swords adventure. That's cool.
I just think it could be really chaotic, but a lot of fun.
Yes, and also you and I have talked about many times that like Triforce Heroes is a game that we wish had been ported over to the Switch, just because like it was so fun to play it, but like you never able really to party up in an effective way. If it's switched to and people have it, and you've got like the camera and game chat and all this kind of stuff, it could make it so easy to party up with 3 other people playing the game and coordinate your moves to like tackle little dungeons. I think that'd be so fun. And so
yeah,
good.
game chat, game share would be great for this too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, 4 echoes.
4 echoes is very good. I like that you've come up with the plus whatever for all of these. I was not as good at that. Which I guess the existing ones don't like. It's just the 2 that have had like expansions.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all mine are like
expansion types.
Yeah.
Okay. For my final pick, now we are to final to picks. I think is a look. I know that this game has been was released and re-released twice after that. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It is. First of all, I could always do with more Captain Toad Treasure Trackers. The structure of that game is such where like you're just turning books or turning pages in a book, and each page is a new level. So like there's no real continuity or whatever there. You can just drop new levels in there, no problem. But it's also totally ripe for a mode where you are controlling Toad with the Joy-Con and then using mouse controls, like clicking obstacles away or like doing some other like environment manipulation to like clear a path for Toad. And I want that. I want I love Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and let's just have another bite at that apple.
Yeah, totally. I've never played all the way through any version of it.
Oh man, it's so wonderful. I do still think that like the best version of the game is on Wii U, just because like the like going back and forth between the gamepad and the TV was so satisfying and good. But yeah, the Switch version is very good.
Well, my final one is going to be a final 2 because I have 2 like mini pitches that maybe add up to a single pitch. The first one is just Super Mario Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Mario 35. They can call whatever they want. They can call Mario 35 whatever they want.
Right.
But I just think it would be... So Mario 35 was something that they released for a limited time during Mario's 35th anniversary, which was in 2020. And it was in the style of like a like a Tetris 99 or something. But the way that it worked is you were playing through stages in the original Super Mario Brothers, but as you like performed in the stage, you would get things that you could send to other screens. How did it work exactly?
Right. So there were 2 things. One was that you could collect like items that you could spawn. So like mushroom, fire flower, and star. But also like as you are sending like damage to other people, like you would in Tetris, it just makes their like enemy count go up. So like instead of spawning 2 Goombas at the beginning of World 1-2, it would spawn 5 or 10 or whatever. And like while you're playing, you could get yourself in a situation where like the screen is basically full of like Hammer Brothers or whatever. And it's absolute chaos and so much fun.
And it would be, like hence the name. There would be 35 people that could play at a time.
Yes.
And then it would slowly like people would get knocked out and it would narrow down. I didn't play this that much of it.
Yeah.
Like the mechanics were a little complicated for me, but
Well, and the game is like it was fun, but like it was kind of imbalanced in that way that like you would get to a point where it's like, okay, you need to just keep spawning stars because you like physically can't survive being non-invincible for like more than a second. Like no one could do it. So, usually that's when you get into like the top 10, which, out of 35 happens kind of a lot, right?
right.
But yeah, so if they found a way to like kind of rebalance it, like in some ways it's good that they took it away after a little while, so no one got like crazy good at it. But yeah, that's such a cool concept, and I wish they would refine it and re-release it.
So yeah, so Super Mario Brothers Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Mario 35. Then my other one, which is also a half pitch, is ARMS Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus
Legs.
Armsgeddon.
Okay. Yeah, good. Is this like a campaign mode?
No, it's not a campaign mode. It's a like 10 on 10, 25 on 25, 50 on 50. Nintendo, you tell me how many people we can throw into a like battle royale mode with ARMS characters.
Armsgeddon.
Yeah, just arms flying all over the place.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's just like a battle royale.
Yep.
But like it just in a single arena.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The only downside is that like you got to play ARMS. Yeah, pretty good half pitch there. But I also had a half pitch that was just Luigi's Mansion 3. I don't actually have the pitch there because the game looks and runs great already, but just like I don't know, add another floor or something. I don't know. It is the only Luigi's Mansion game to date that has not been re-released.
That's true.
So like maybe it's time. But yeah, I don't know. I noticed that we both like stayed away from like Fire Emblem or what was like Splatoon. And for me personally, I was looking at those games, and Mario Maker was another one where I was like, oh, they're just going to make a new entry in that series.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense that they would do a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Splatoon 3. They may prove me wrong and do that.
No, but I know what you mean. I was thinking the same thing where it's like, oh, it already has like DLC, that so that feels like a complete package. And I kind of felt the same way because I was thinking about Three Houses, the Fire Emblem of my heart. And I couldn't and it's just like, or actually another example, Box Boy plus Box Girl.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, how could you make a Nintendo Switch 2 edition? But it's just like by making a sequel. Like you would just make a sequel.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But what if it was Box Boy plus Box Girl plus Box Man plus Box Woman? What about that?
I mean, I love the name. We can work backwards from there.
Right.
For Mario Maker 2, the reason why I did not include it is because I think there is maybe something you could always do more.
Right.
It felt like they left stuff on the table with Mario Maker 2.
Yeah,
but I don't think they want to support the like curation of it, like all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, sort of famously in the original release of Mario Maker 2, that it was like the Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3 World and New, and then there was like another section for like a new theme that was listed as like additional themes, and only Super Mario 3D World occupied that space, but it was big enough that it should have had more, and it was additional themes with an S, plural. So like they were planning on something at some point.
Yeah.
And never did anything with it. The other thing is like obviously Mario Maker mouse support, killer, clutch.
Oh
right?
my gosh, would have been huge. They almost shouldn't have made it for the Switch. They should have waited for the mouse controls of the Switch too.
Well, and like they had a pretty good solution in the sort of like wheel where you're like choosing stuff that way for selecting with a stick. So it's a pretty good solution, but not perfect. But I feel like it would be sort of cumbersome to use that solution with the mouse. So it's like, oh no, we've kind of landed on worst of both worlds if we're putting mouse controls in Mario Maker 2. So that was definitely one where I was like, yeah, we just wait for Mario Maker 3 or whatever the next You think they're done with the Maker series? Because like
I think they're done with Mario Maker. I think this is a classic Nintendo. We just make 2, and then we've done everything we want to do, and we're walking away.
Right.
It would not surprise me if they are done with the Maker series, and whatever we get next in that vein is something totally like a return to the art studio stuff, or just something totally different.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting that like they are obviously focusing more on like online co-op with your friends, and that is maybe a better environment to share your creations than the sort of whatever it is in Mario Maker now, that maybe requires a little bit less curation on their part, which they don't do anyway, right? Like the curation on those things is famously bad, which is maybe just true of all like user generated content.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like I remember trying to look at the Smash Ultimate levels that were created.
Oh, right.
That would be in, you could look at the phone app and stuff to look through them. And it's just hard when, anything that I created would be in this category, but like 99.95% of everything that's created is going to be bad.
Right.
And so you're trying to find the 0.05 that doesn't have like genitals in it.
Right. But the other 0.05 that doesn't have genitals in it is just recreations of like other levels from games, right? Like it's amazing that it's like things are mostly bad or homages to like other video games. There are very few like original creations that are like fun, innovative, exciting things that aren't just references to World 1-1.
And they obviously exist. During Games Done Quick, you see people doing speed runs of like absolutely insane levels that were created in Mario Maker 2. But yeah, like trying to find that stuff,
right,
and then surface it and all of that, yeah, just seems like a huge mess that nobody has ever gotten good at.
I suppose the thing that they could do is like, because remember the original Super Mario Maker 2 launched with like 100 Nintendo-made levels with those tools, right?
Like the campaign mode thing.
Yeah. Just like do that again. Just get your Nintendo designers to make another 100 levels,
right?
And release that as the Super Mario Maker 2 plus more Super Mario Maker levels.
But at the beginning of the episode, you brought up a good point, and so I kind of want to end with this question. Do you think that the 4 Nintendo Switch 2 editions that we talked about, plus the 2, like quote unquote new games like Legends, ZA, and Metroid Prime 4 that will be getting Nintendo Switch 2 editions, do you think that this is the end? Like, do you think it is, or do you think in the future
is just like a transitional thing?
Right. Like, yeah, it makes sense that Legends and Metroid Prime 4 are getting these Nintendo Switch 2 editions because they're these crossover things. And then these 4 games to highlight, capabilities of the Nintendo Switch 2. Or do you think we continue to see re-releases like Kirby and the Forgotten Land because Nintendo this generation will not be able to rely on like on the Switch generation, they were able to rely on Wii U re-releases, and just be like, well, we're just presenting Wii U games as new games because 12 million people had a Wii U, and the audience is so much bigger that it's like, Bill, I don't know. I guess,
So I mean, I guess I think the appeal for it is, and maybe they're waiting to see, right? Like how well the Switch 2 editions of Mario Party and Kirby sell. But like, I would think there's a limited scope for these that like actually make sense. Like of my pitches, I think really Nintendo Switch Sports is the only one that seems realistic to me.
Well, I mean, I think all of our pitches were perfect. But
I think all of our pitches were perfect. How realistic are they though? Like they're not going to do this Famicom Detective Club thing.
Right.
They're never going to talk about Princess Peach Showtime again, right? Super Mario Odyssey, no, they released that game,
right?
So I don't know how realistic it is that they are going to revisit these things. My question, like kind of related to that, is like Rhythm Heaven, Tomodachi Life,
right?
Are those, those were being shown off as Nintendo Switch games? Will we see Nintendo Switch 2 editions of those,
or will they just be Nintendo Switch games that you can play on the Nintendo Switch 2 because they're backwards compatible? Because
obviously you can,
And we know that Nintendo hasn't shown all the Nintendo Switch games that they're going to release. So,
Right.
you know, like there will be other Nintendo Switch games in the future after like
Well,
Tomodachi
actually,
Life and
do we think that's true? Like, is it possible that in Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven that we have seen the last games that they're going to release on Switch?
I guess it is possible, but I think it's unlikely. I
Okay.
think that because there are so many Switches that they're going to continue
That's a good point.
At least through next year.
It's just we have seen 4 more games coming to Switch, right?
Yes, but I also think the other part of it that we can't discount, and I don't know how fast they'd be able to move on this, but if they we don't know how many Switch 2s they're going to be able to sell. We don't, right? Like you know, like if they have to raise the price super high and all that kind of stuff. And so maybe they will end up having to rely on the Switch install base for a little longer than they planned.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to want to just completely stop software support in that case. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, like you and I will frequently have these things where we are talking about, you know, like these sort of like history of Nintendo consoles and like how games come out, why they come out when they do, or you know, whatever. Why Nintendo supported the NES for so long after the Super NES came out. That why the Game Boy lived as long as it did, and like in all of those cases, some of it has to do with like trends in the industry, and sometimes it has to do with like the shape of the economic and political world, and like it's hard to recognize that those things could have an effect on like your video game library
right
as they're happening. But like I think you're right that world events may shape more than just when Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp comes out, but you know, Nintendo's whole strategy moving forward. All right, Mark, any final thoughts about Nintendo Switch 2 editions?
No, I think we nailed it.
Are you excited to get any of these Nintendo Switch 2 editions that we've been talking
I
about?
am glad that the Zelda ones, you know, I subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, so I'm glad that the Zelda ones are included because
me too.
I don't know that I would rebuy them on the Switch 2, but
or even pay for the upgrade, right?
Or yeah, probably. But like having them, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in going back into Breath of the Wild, and messing around with that a little bit. And so those, and then I'm gonna get the Kirby one. So I guess it'll be those 3, and then which is a good fair amount of them. Then of course I'll get Metroid Prime 4 if nothing else. But yeah, I think it would take like extra content like we're seeing in Kirby to get me to buy the $20 upgrade or whatever for a game I already owned, because I don't think the tech stuff like Zelda running better would be enough to get me to upgrade. But maybe I'll be wrong once I see it running and I'm like, whoa, this really is a big difference.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's got to be like a hands-on thing, right? Like I do forget when I'm like deep into playing one of these open world Zelda games, and then I switch over to like a PlayStation 5 game, and then I'm like, oh, right, right. It can look like this. Games can look like this. So yeah, I mean, I'm also kind of expecting. I mean, first of all, I'm gonna buy all of these, right? I'm gonna get the 2 as part of the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, and then I'm 100% getting Kirby and Jamboree because they're just the upgrades, right? And I'm very interested to mess around with the camera stuff in Jamboree. But yeah, I'm a sucker for this. I think I will probably whatever Nintendo Switch 2 editions they put out, I think I'll be there because it's exciting. New kind of. All right, Mark, let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McKay, Patrice Millette, Kyle Seaborn, Drew Mackey, and Steve-O. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our patrons and everyone listening or interacting with us in any way. Thank you so much. You can join our Discord if you have not already. Email us, and we will send you an invitation. It still says email or tweet at us in the show notes. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
We have not been on Twitter for a good long time. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening. Okay, a thought did just occur to me.
Okay.
What if there's no world, right, where they release games with the Nintendo Switch 2 edition like tag on it that weren't released on Nintendo Switch, right?
I don't think so.
Because that feels crazy, right?
Well, okay, what like do you mean like
The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Nintendo Switch 2 edition?
Oh, like if they did no, I think in that case they would just
Call
like
it
release
like
it as they
remake or
like
whatever.
switch to but that's interesting. Like if it's yeah, those Zelda remakes are a great example. They skipped Switch. They were never released on Switch, but they're bringing them forward.
We're making a couple assumptions before about what Nintendo Switch 2 edition has to be an upgrade from.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, maybe it just becomes a naming convention.
Maybe
like
it does,
to indicate that it's for Switch 2.
Right. Kid Icarus Uprising Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Comes from the 3DS. Still looks like a 3DS game, just runs better.
Well, it has to run a lot better.